a best-of-3 series, but the third game is the one won by the other team. So these best-of-5s really weed out all of those intense moments, the jitters, the nerves, and you got to put it all on the field here.
Yeah, LMQ not willing to deal with the Cinder whatsoever.
Yeah, again.
Banning it on both sides of the rift, as you could say. Darius doesn't want to deal with Nidalee on either side, so I feel like those two bans will remain static throughout the series.
It was amazing on your screen.
Okay.
Zillion goes out.
They waited till the very end of that ban timer. I thought maybe they didn't ban, but yeah, interesting actually how they just decided to ban the Zillion instead of going for it themselves. One thing Loco Doco said in his vlog after the quarterfinals was Lustboy was just able to play Nami the entire time, but he had another support train that is even better, is what he said.
Right.
A lot of people just thought that was Alistair, who has been consistently banned, but there's a chance he has something else. Fairly similar bans this game, it only changes the Maokai. First Rise.
They say, how do you like this? Look familiar? Picking up the Rise, may just be a Lucian. What support do they want? We had a Thresh banned out by Team SoloMid last time here, so maybe actually picked up by Lustboy. Or I'm sorry, by LMQ.
We sure the teams switch sides? These are the same blue side, red side picks as the last game. First pick Rise. In similar shoes, TSM picked Lucian Nami with their first red side picks here. They have hovered the Lucian, but Nunu is available. That's a big one.
So what LMQ did in some of the first week of the LCS was bring out this Nunu, and then he just lived in your jungle. And he probably will. Amazing's not going to have a fun time.
A lot of it is just about soaking damage, something Nunu does better than almost any jungler here. Lee Sin is up, though, if Amazing wants to break that guy out. I mean, if TSM really wanted to, they have the ability to just go Lee Sin Yasuo, just like LMQ did in the last match, and they would still be pretty comfortable with Bjergsen's Yasuo playing Amazing's Lee Sin.
Yeah. Amazing was able to get those kicks so well known for, and he actually will go ahead and lock that in. Bjergsen's still waiting. And it looks like they are just going to be able to get the Nami, obviously leaving that up to see what LMQ can put into their fight prowess. Right now they just have a lot of control over objectives.
Yeah, 6 playoff games in a row they've gone with that Nami. And this is a blind Yasuo pick. They don't know if they're going against a Rise or if they're going against whatever else Bjergsen decides to pick against it. Just showing Xiao is willing to do that whenever, wherever.
I think that's such a good strategy in a best-of-5 series that if you can, and you're very confident, just pick it. You're not revealing anything else. If they do lose this, maybe it'll be next game, but he played an amazing farm game, an amazing mid lane game.
If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Would be the old saying.
Yeah, that's true. Good way to put it, Chad. Gonna be stealing out the Triss. That'll definitely not help, actually.
Lucian had already
picked in first pick.
Kog'Maw is just kind of sitting by the wayside. They need a little bit more mobility against the Yasuo. I wonder if they go for those locks.
The Thresh Nunu as well, coming out from LMQ. Talk a little bit about that, getting the deep wards in, Lantern out for safety towards that mid game when you're trying to gain more control.
LMQ would run the risk of not having enough damage here unless they pick a very heavily damaging top laner. Thresh and Nunu are usually right at the bottom of the champion damage charts. So there would be a little bit of a threat here, especially with Rise already being taken away. There is a chance LMQ doesn't do damage here. They might have to win this one early based on this team comp. It would be a good early game, or more of a mid-game team comp for LMQ if they can get the Mundo really tanky and then run through TSM. Just kind of the safe top laner to mimic the matchup that was played in the last match, just with different players demanding the same champions.
Hoping Darius can hold steady in that top lane against the Rise. We've heard them tell him multiple times, don't worry about getting the first pick to perform, play consistent, keep your head in the game. Don't think you have to do anything crazy because you're getting that pick. Obviously the Rise, easy one for a first flex pick, and they keep it on to Darius. Been playing quite well, has definitely not had the best time in their 4 matches against Ackerman, but a 4-0 is going to present those type of stats. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The teams are locked in. We're ready. It's going to be an Orianna versus Xiao in the mid lane this time. We'll have to see how they kind of react to that one. Bjergsen really wanting to come out on top of this time, hoping that protection for the late game for a Trist. But like you said, early game LMQ, and they almost had it last game.
The Orianna is a definite upgrade in the lane against Yasuo as far as being able to keep up and farm. So we'll really get to see if Xiao can maintain that CS advantage he had from the first game in game 2,
right,
and then get pressure to mimic itself throughout the map.
All right, remember to keep casting your vote by using the hashtag TSM win or LMQ win. We'll see where the fan vote stands as we head into game 2. And it's going to be an amazing one as well. We see more here on the end with Vasily getting himself prepared. More in their 4 games versus Team SoloMid has 48 in the regular season of their 67 kills against Team SoloMid. He's everywhere participating. Like I said, that bottom lane has such good kill participation. And we saw No Name wanted to get that off the bat last game instantly.
One of the big focuses, even though we were focused on the mid lane last game, was the bottom lane. How, at least in the laning phase, Vasily and Moore were destroying a little bit. They were aided by that early gank from No Name, but they continued that through later on, picking up a 2v2 kill. And we saw what a monster Vasily was at the end of the game because of that laning phase.
Yep. So here we go, back on to the Rift for game 2. TSM now going to try their hand out of the blue side. Sweeper Ward Nunu for No Name, as usual, making sure he can start and shut down some early vision. We have Blue Crystal coming in for Dyrus. A little bit more damage in the lane. And easy, safe healing for Ackerman. So pretty much generic around the board. Nothing too crazy. Let's see how they try to work these early wards from No Name.
The big thing that No Name wants to do in this matchup is not so much gank as just prevent Amazing from having an impact. Nunu wants to be as big of an annoyance as possible, and then just be a damage soak later on in the game. Kind of make you so mad at Nunu that you try and kill him, because max consume Nunu doesn't really do anything as far as damage. He becomes really tanky, he farms really quickly, and he denies you a lot of experience, but you can't really push him out of where he wants to go. So he gains advantages through vision and through objective control.
LMQ loves doing that. Early game control for them means early game objectives. And they are no stranger to 20-minute Barons, as we have seen before. So far, setting up towards the bottom side. They know Ackerman's down here, though, so they're going to be privy to a possible swap. But this is going to be a big, big invade. Oh, man.
Yeah. They're all stacked up on top of each other here. Xiao in the flank. I mean, Bjergsen could skill up his Q and throw it in, but he actually skilled the shield first. He spotted him.
He definitely spotted more than just a few. That knowledge is given, and it looks like they're going to maybe try to push the lane. There were pings down towards the bottom side. Those came from the TSM. Let's see if they try to freeze and push that one for Wild Turtle and Lust Boy. Not having to work against the zillion bombs this time. They might have a little better time with that sustain being really able to stick onto Wild Turtle.
Yeah, forcing TSM into the swap in the jungle as well. Making a little bit of a delayed start by Amazing, which will secure No Name being a little bit ahead of Lee Sin for now, which as far as the general annoyance goes is a win for Nunu.
Give me safe. Early game. Some say you can get in the head of Vasily. Really get his plays. He always does certain things, dodges certain ways. That's all on doing your homework.
One thing about Vasily is he is just forever aggressive.
Yeah.
We were talking to Krepo a little bit about bottom lane matchups because he has so much experience against these bottom lanes. And most players, when they're dodging skill shots, the example was a Thresh Hook, but a bubble can be used here. They will either juke sideways or backwards just to avoid the jukes. But Vasily, more often than not, will juke towards you. Meaning if you miss, he can trade very aggressively, but if you hit him, it basically just kills him. So it's a very risky style that often pays off for Vasily, and it's something you have to adjust to when playing against Vasily as opposed to a different AD carry.
Let's see if they take advantage of any of this. Already trying to be up in the face of TSM under the turret. Nice little light bindings to get Farm and harass in onto Wild Turtle. Amazing. Trying to give Xiao a little bit of harass, or at least something else to think about.
Oh no.
Hard to get. Oh dear, Dyrus in the top lane still has his flash, but he's too far away. He's already super slowed on this one, and he had to waltz around the minions. Good focus, top lane. Dyrus goes down, first blood.
So a lot of people will look at that gank and say, what is Dyrus doing? How could he be pushed up in 3 minutes and 30 seconds without a ward? And how the top lane gank in 3.5 minutes is like the most common thing in solo queue.
Right.
But it was actually really unexpected for No Name to be there. If we think about where they started in the jungle, No Name took the 2 buffs from the complete opposite side of the map.
Right.
It was such an inefficient gank for No Name to run all the way through that river, somehow evade wards and make it in there, but he did it, and he caught Dyrus completely by surprise for that first blood.
We were not expecting that to be coming in anytime soon, but again, LMQ gives themselves a little snowball to roll down the hill. Let's see if they can keep it. Xiao feeling a bit of pressure here, maybe a little bit from Bjergsen. He wants to dodge that damage out, and he is using those clockwork wind-up passive auto attacks to get that HP down. Definitely a better pick for the Orianna in mid lane here.
Yeah, keeping up in CS just fine. The Xiao. However, the No Name jungle could become a pretty big problem. The fact that he was able to get that first blood gave him a 4.5 minute sight stone. So he can litter the map with wards now.
Right.
And the second someone gets a little bit aggressive, they'll go. He's actually maxing his Ice Blast as well, so he's a little bit more about lane presence.
Just saying, here I am.
Yeah. Or that. Or he's just gonna farm.
Very interesting.
This is a lane tax if I've ever seen one.
This is a paycheck.
Yeah. They're just trying to shove Bjergsen in. I think Xiao wants to shop, but he didn't want to lose a wave.
Wow.
That's one of those times where the mid laner calls the jungle over and says, let's shove it.
And look at
now he's level 5.
Still stayed up in the majority of CS, 5-4 here. It's going to be a slow, gets that Sonic Wave, the resonating strike to keep it, but he cannot keep up with the Blood Boil this early in the game. So a little back and forth, junglers know where each other are. It's going to relieve a bit of pressure, but a little mid-game games.
And I was mistaken on the Nunu skill order, actually. No Name has decided to go with Max Ice Blast Nunu this game, which is the classic Nunu build. The Max Consume is something that has become a trend lately. This gives No Name a lower amount of objective control, but better dueling capabilities. Maybe it's because he's ahead, or it's just the way he plays. Dexter also does Max Ice Blast Nunu. So it's not like it's a wrong choice, it's just a different choice.
Been pretty omnipresent so far.
He's been everywhere.
Let's see, he tries to get in the face of Amazing once again. He is keeping complete tabs right now. Great wards going down, Amazing filtering through that one, and it's going to be known.
Reginald trying to play the mental mind games with his own team.
Bam.
You're like, actually guys, playoffs was canceled today, but we got some scrims lined up with LMQ.
That doesn't mean you can give up first blood though.
You gotta play fast and loose in the
Still gotta play strong. Ooh! Dyrus getting some good damage there in the top lane. Traded back almost by a cleaver that just misses. So he's gonna have a little bit of fun for himself. Coming back with that tier. Give him a bit of an upper hand. Ackerman will be back. Teleport to use there. Pings in the bottom lane. A little insecure about what's going on down there. They say we don't see mid. We also don't have that correct ward. It was pink cleared, so be careful. See, everybody's got eyes on the map for bot lane. LMQ.
No Name with really good vision control early. This will be the silent battle that goes on in this game. Who has the vision and how that affects the lanes? Because we'll see the CS numbers, but a lot of it will have to do based on the work of No Name and Amazing. Amazing trying to get Spirit of the Elder Lizard as quickly as possible, whereas No Name has just rushed that Sight Stone straight off the bat.
And he's not afraid to show himself every time either. He's all about the ward clears. If they see him, so what? His ganks have actually worked every time he's been into lane or really pushed for LMQ's favor. Ackerman trying to get some deep wards as well. They are on the ball with these. And look, they have pinks all across their side, so TSM is not getting in for any forward wards of their own.
It's very difficult, if not impossible, for TSM to make aggressive moves right now. Just because there are 5, if you count them, normal wards within TSM's jungle territory. Everywhere they decide to go will be knowledge into LMQ. So LMQ actually has the ability to set up all of their plays and avoid the TSM plays right now. So unless TSM is making 1v1 plays in lanes that do not require vision advantage, they can't do anything right now.
Well, Bjergsen's doing a lot better against Xiao in the mid lane here, and on probably a higher main champion that he usually plays out in the solo queue or even professional play. So no Fizz this time for him. He's doing quite well on a tier stack, actually, with the rest of the team for that late game.
Interesting. So a lot of times when Oriannas play against an AD mid, they will go tier into Seekers and then maybe even a Morellonomicon for a different type of power spike instead of a straight up team's death cap. It's just so if he does get caught up in a Yasuo combo, he doesn't die once he gets the Seekers.
Right. It would be a perfect build as well for the Mundo. Being able to shut down Ackerman's health regen with the Morellonomicon would be super good towards that late game.
Serves two purposes right there.
Just a 600 gold lead here. Might even be on these wards.
A little bit of that is true. I mean, if we look at combat effectiveness, the Sightstone isn't giving No Name very much of that. If they were to collide for a team fight right now, it would be very close. If TSM could somehow get a Dragon despite the vision control of LMQ, it would be a huge win. Dyrus has walked down and they know they have the teleport advantage. They're actually going to be able to get this.
Very nice rotation. This one coming from most likely Bjergsen in mid lane as he's feeling a lot better in this matchup, and they are able to just do this right in front of LMQ. No contest there. TSM comes out a lot stronger here in game one. That Dragon helps from that first blood.
That was legitimately a brilliant move by TSM, considering everything LMQ had invested was into vision control. To actually get Dyrus down there without being spotted, knowing that Ackerman had burned his teleport, gives them such an edge. Everything LMQ invested in vision control is for nothing at that point.
That's
because
so true.
The major objective is gone.
All those wards, all the movement No Name has been doing, just trying to walk through. They'll still be able to use them, but that was good on TSM. They did not try to fight. That's what we said they could do. They could try to make moves. But as a team, yeah, they could do something.
They had to make plays that did not rely on vision.
Exactly.
And just walking your entire team down to Dragon and taking it doesn't necessarily need vision control, as long as the other team can't match you.
All right, so power and numbers here for Team SoloMid, and the Morellonomicon finished up 10 minutes here. Nice little spike as he keeps getting the mana he requires to be in lane.
Hasn't even gone for the Seekers.
No, yeah, that's true. Well, Xiao as well, Avarice on his side, money. So he'll be getting some attack crits in, but not as much. Really going for the farm game himself. Whoa, flashes the Shockwave. That'll be a win on cooldowns.
Yeah. It's actually rather interesting having the discussion yesterday. Shockwave is the spell that you always wish you would have flashed later. You see it coming, and you think, maybe I can just take this one. I'm going to save my flash. And then half the time, then you're slowed, and then there's a jungler there, and then they kill you. So Xiao erring on the side of caution.
Yeah.
Despite having fairly good ward control, and should have known that Lee Sin wasn't necessarily there, keeping his farm-based strategy, he actually gained about 250 gold from that Avarice Blade before upgrading, which, because of the Dragon that was taken by TSM, kept him even with Bjergsen.
Very interesting play. Xiao really considering lots and lots within the game and not just going on what's going on in his lane itself. 16.4 to 17.3 with the Dragon. TSM picks up a bit more gold, and that turret in the bottom lane helps to open up the map. Ackerman hasn't been giving Dyrus too much trouble, and looks like he's got enough magic resistance now to keep with Dyrus in this lane, so Dyrus can't give him too much either. Good dodges though.
Yeah,
Dyrus
even with that first blood from Dyrus, it didn't become a recurring thing. Dyrus didn't try and burn his flash to get away, so he didn't create an easy opportunity for himself to get camped. He also had a monstrous minion wave, which was not freezable by LMQ, to make it so that lane was a farmable entity throughout. This has been such a solid early game from TSM. It's actually a complete reversal from game one. They're taking the punches from LMQ and then returning in very smart ways. The only thing Amazing has tried to do was that bottom lane shove. The things he's doing are with knowledge that LMQ sees him. So he's either running through vision or running through places where LMQ simply can't ward, like all the way through bottom lane to set up that turret push.
Here's a little brush control. No Name's going to try and get what he can out of this with the team. This would be huge for Vasily to pick up a kill. This is the first time we've really seen LMQ's bottom lane not have an upper hand in the early part of the game. Ooh, sushi for dinner tonight. Plus boy goes down.
2 for 2 on those bottom lane plays is LMQ. They had some pink ward control running into their brush, so they knew that No Name would not be there. And it was just a really tricky thing for Lustboy to get in there with.
forth in this top lane. But TSM is doing a really good job at kind of stalling out LMQ, wanting everything in the early game and being able to get power spikes at the right time. They're still on track to do a bit of that, but Amazing wants to help shut it down here in the top lane.
Would have to flash kick.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew they had the ultimate
doesn't
down.
have enough mana right now to be doing this with the team.
Yeah.
The kickback wouldn't have got the room prison damage necessary.
Amazing did flash for that as well. That was a pretty big miscommunication, honestly. Amazing thinking they could go for the kill, and Dyrus just not having the mana.
They're attempting. Bit of a flubber there. We'll see if they can get it back into control. Not something that's really going to play on their mentality too much. Unsuccessful ganks are just something you got to try again. See the Infinity Edge already at 14.5 minutes for Vasily. Those passive shots are really what he's counting on to strike.
Vision control has been lost in this bottom lane as well. It's really affecting the ability for Wild Turtle to farm here. Additionally, Xiao picked up LMQ's own red buff, which may prompt some split pushing or even just more threat in the mid lane. LMQ just continuing to try and play this vision game. They lost a few mini fights with the dragon and the bottom turrets, but they definitely gained something back when they caught Lustboy. Now the added denial. What's TSM going to do to counter that? It looks like they're grouping mid.
Ooh, Dyrus is going to cut off No Name here a little bit. I actually see No Name. He had to walk down there. The rest of the team's going to be coming up to him. He knew he had enough time to just get that vision down. Slow movement from the rest of the team, but it looks like they are going to gather mid, as you were saying, as Vasily and more take control of top lane here.
They're going to try a turret trade right here. You can see LMQ has invested in the top lane. TSM sending everyone in the mid lane. They have a minion wave as well.
Ooh, that's already warmed up very nicely, so they could be getting a little bit more out of this. Oh, it goes past the wall. They're able to get it on Xiao. They still got the buster shot to close this one out, and that goes to the young Wild Turtle.
It's funny, Riv. You always wish you would have flashed the shockwave until you don't have your flash up for the next one. That was a great move there by Bjergsen to finish off Xiao, and they can continue this push in the mid lane as long as the minions hold up.
LMQ scattering a little bit. Bjergsen playing very well, throwing out the damage in the mid lane.
Just in time for the dragon as well. They have the on-the-way pings, but they did burn multiple critical cooldowns in that last fight. Xiao will be rezzing and trying to make it up, but they're going for the catches.
Wow, indeed they're going for the catches. A little hop from Wild Turtle, able to get the slow on to get that kill going down for Amazing, and it looks like they're now headed for Dragon. Definitely a different game for game 2.
So many TSM fans in the crowd trying to cheer him on here. So much healing reduction also built into the TSM team. The Morellonomicon, the explosive shot from the Tristana, and they just made short work of Ackerman's Mundo, thinking he was going to be able to bully his way in there for some vision control. Instead of going straight for the dragon, TSM set a quick trap, capitalized, and got both.
How much gold is on the map and wards right now? 4 sight stones across. Everybody's still buying wards, and Amazing put that right in his inventory as soon as he got that item finished. He knew he needed to stop whatever kind of thing No Name was putting together with that vision.
LMQ had a big edge in vision early on in the game, but now TSM has matched that. They just did it in a different fashion. So Amazing went jungle item first, then Sightstone. No Name did the other way around. So now they're actually pretty equivalent in terms of power, except Amazing could farm more because A, he knew he had a bunch of vision on him early, and B, because he went for the damage for faster farming.
Love 17-minute games where we're warding up Baron because it's such a possibility. So good. Amazing. Clearing out whites. They have good control over their jungle and no need to be in it. TSM jungle completely clear of camps. They got to make a move.
Well, now becomes the time for Xiao to begin his Yasuo split pushing. Whether or not Dyrus can deal with that will be really tricky. No armor on the Rise, just a whole bunch of upfront damage. That'll decide a lot, actually, because TSM's trying to take turret after turret with this Trist.
Nice Dark Passage coming out there, indeed. Going to the top lane, like he said, to get another turret back in their favor. Now 3-2. It's just the mid one that Bjergsen has been guarding right now for Team SoloMid that stands. Xiao getting what he can, as he's absolutely going to have this bottom lane to himself, and the golems every time they spawn. Let's see what kind of trouble Dyrus can give him here. Level 13 to 11 is not looking pretty.
If Dyrus can trade farm, that's all they need. But it will be a question about whether No Name can sneak down there or whether LMQ can lay any traps, because if Dyrus goes down, it's an entire side of map pressure that TSM would lose.
Right.
Still a really close game, just a much better early game from TSM when compared to game 1.
Dyrus also not with Tabis in that one either, up against the Mundo in the top lane. He did go treads, so he doesn't have any armor just yet on that Rise. He gets a little breathing room as Xiao goes back. LMQ starts to consider on their own side of the map what to do next. We see Blue back over to Bjergsen. What the move is going to be next? Seems like everything is slowed down quite a bit because nobody's really ready to do that Baron if it comes to it. You just want to get vision.
Yeah. Maybe even set some traps around that pit.
Right.
If Xiao is going to split push bottom, as long as Dyrus can stay safe, they will hold the teleport advantage over that, which is one of the ways they can force fights down here. How are they going to combo this?
Oh, that would have been nice into the bubble, but I think they were looking for way too much on that one.
Oh, that was so close!
Oh, he did. He actually got it. He locked down the shockwave within the death of Amazing. So lucky that didn't get pulled back to Bjergsen, but they made it work.
Barely did they make that work. Trading a jungler for an AD carry gold-wise is still equivalent, but map pressure-wise, it is a bit of a win for TSM. Amazing definitely went too early right there, and LMQ was laying in wait. But then they waited for a shockwave and got blown up.
This is what the TSM fans are looking for, though. These plays to be made. TSM not to be afraid to go in and make things happen. Amazing. He's been the one to do that in their past few games, and again, quite hard there with Lustboy. See if they get themselves a little more controlled, though. They got really deep for this.
I mean, look where the rest of TSM is right now. It's the support and a jungler trying to take on the world right here. Amazing gets, because he used his W to ward jump, he couldn't save himself right there, and just before the lander could come in, Bjergsen is able to finish that kill. He actually completed his Archangel Staff really early. So Bjergsen going for a lot of early ability power and a blue elixir already. So trying to get an early power spike here with a slightly unconventional build. He will hit an absurd amount of AP if he fits a death cap into that build. But the problem with that build is actually the inaccessibility of Void Staff. He's built two non-conventional items. Normally the Ori build would be death cap, Athenes, into Void Staff. But he already has the Archangels and the Relanonomicon, plus a component of Zanya's. So if he wants to go Death Cap Void, it just takes forever for him to complete that. It basically means he either foregoes Void Staff or foregoes Death Cap, and either one of those choices will result in a slightly lower max damage. At 4 items, he has to wait for 6 items to actually reach a real height of damage if the other team builds MR.
And you can see the game for Bjergsen a little bit better this time. Slower for Xiao. 1 minute ago, he had a Blade coming into this matchup, so it's definitely been a different game for LMQ across the board. The pressure from No Name only lasted so long in the early game. Still, Xiao is going to get his split push on. He has put himself in a strong enough position to continue this. Dyrus looks to be kind of milling about getting everything he needs in base. He'll be walking down to the bottom lane, though. He's got the ping.
Dyrus successfully held off Xiao.
Yeah.
How much of a success that is hard to say. Ryze farm versus Yasuo farm, they both scale very well. But considering Dyrus was behind at the time, it is a success for TSM.
Yeah, he didn't have armor.
The question is, since they've traded an under-farm person for an over-farm person, how is LMQ holding out 4v4? Because they've actually been holding off very well, and the gold is staying close.
Culling definitely proving useful in that aspect. Dragon in 8 seconds, so they want to make sure they get this vision down. Jat. Look at Bjergsen. He does it on Syndra, now doing it on Orianna. He can be the single man to zone out an entire team while TSM gets an objective. Looks like they're going to go ahead and kind of save face on this one. They don't like all the vision that they have, but now they do. They got another ward down that says it's clear.
This will be so huge. Whether or not Moore can land a death sentence on the right target, or whether or not they can get some catches, and they've got a catch or two.
Moore goes down. That's not even. Yes, it was a shockwave actually that locked them in, but they're going to be able to follow up. Another dissonant slow coming in. Beautiful move by Bjergsen to pull in the command protect and then throw out the kill.
LMQ actually thought about going for Dragon while TSM was rushing that, but Baron is the new name of the game. Still all of the damage dealers / carries alive for LMQ, just lacking in utility. It was a risky Baron last time. No smite. How fast can they get this? How quickly can they peel?
Well, they've definitely got themselves in the den, so it's going to be a pinch in here from LMQ. And this is what we talk about LMQ. They're not afraid with any amount of members.
They'll just run into fight.
Xiao very low. He's kind of pulled the pressure to himself, but he's also pulled death as well for the team. This is going to be shots still on the Baron. They're trying to keep it, and it's the smite coming in from Amazing. Beautiful job there by Team SoloMid. LMQ doing what they can to try and stop it out.
TSM takes complete control of the game with that catch into Baron. They also get 2 kills out of the follow-up fight, and now they can just rotate down the way to Dragon because they have the Baron regen and the buff to push LMQ off of Dragon.
TSM coming out much stronger here in game 2 with their own 5,000 gold lead. LMQ was able to stretch that to 10K. We'll see if TSM can give them the same medicine. LMQ is not a team to just keel over and let this happen. Expect the comeback from both sides here. It's still going to be a tight game. We're only 25 minutes in.
Wow, No Name taking a risky little white right there. And yeah, you're right. LMQ is definitely not a team to go down without a fight.
See that again. Shockwave.
Yeah, catching 2 right there, right into the tidal wave. Leading safety for Wild Turtle to jump in, as well as the nice bubble catches from Lustboy. You can see they had the vision control up towards that funnel, whereas LMQ didn't actually have the right type of coverage there. And the blue elixir pays off there for Bjergsen.
It's the Zanyas too, Jet. Looks like it could be the Void Staff that goes right after that. We see the ability tome.
I mean, he's sitting at 504 AP without a death cap at the moment. Baron buff gives good AP as well as the Elixir of Brilliance. He's actually went back and bought another one, it looks like.
Xiao has not had time to build damage, so one of the highest damage forces of DPS coming out of them. He goes down instantly by just a dissonance and whatever. Shockwave will probably take him out with a ball move. So that's something they don't have to worry about, as well as Vasily. LMQ is going to have to come into these fights. I don't know, definitely spread out. Too much focus on one spot is just going to be Bjergsen command shockwaving everyone in. We haven't seen No Name even really get an absolute 0 because they haven't been in position to execute the fights themselves.
You're right about that. The distraction of Nunu hasn't really been that big of a distraction this game.
Yeah.
Just have worked around him very nicely. Wild Turtle, because the gold lead has reached a point of some pretty heavy damage. This could be a threat, though. Darius has got to run. Can he dodge the tornado is a big question. Uh-oh.
Uses the Blade of the Rune King right away to get that initial damage. Now Dyrus gonna go for the TP. Oh,
another one.
Get the third slash out. Dyrus goes down. TSM's on the top side, though. That's gonna have to be a back from both No Name and Xiao.
You can see how cautious the Rise has to be in that split push matchup. They're back in base right now. TSM has to respect that.
They do. They start to back off. They also don't have too many wards just behind them, so you're going to see them plopping some down as they make their way out, so they know if LMQ is on the chase, they can get out accordingly. A Blood Boil team is going to be coming at you, but TSM stays for the party. Ackerman gets shockwaved in, but they're going to have to reset one more time. See Turtle and the team stepping back, and LMQ still wants into the fight. Whether they're slowed or not, they're trying everything, and they're trying their damnedest. Now they know they need to turn around. The bubble on the Xiao, the finisher from Bjergsen. You can see Vasily's damage is still something to be reckoned with, but they shut it down too early. 4 kills coming up for Team SoloMid.
The damage from Bjergsen is just so ridiculously high 26 minutes into this game right now. They turned that around. 4v5, much to the chagrin of LMQ right there. Just not the way they wanted that one to turn out. 506 Bjergsen, 306 Turtle. The carries have the gold.
Yes, I'm definitely taking the early game right now, or even mid-game. They're keeping it pretty early here to LMQ. They have not had a chance to even bring their composition out and show what it's about. TSM's already taken down the inhibitors. They have an 11,000 gold lead this game. They're going to give LMQ a little bit of their own medicine.
This is pretty much a complete reversal of the first game. LMQ was looking for a 30-minute win, and then they almost lost the game on a turnaround here, and now TSM may actually get the 30-minute win with another fight.
Oh, Xiao going down. A very nicely used exhaust coming from Lustboy. Ackerman's on the front side. You got Wild Turtle with grievous wounds, as well as the Morello Namakan. Mundo's not healing. The inhibitor's gonna go down, and Teams SoloMid, 14-4, 28 minutes. Already know they have the top side open. They're gonna go in on the Nexus turrets.
Hey, maybe TSM has won their first scrim on LAN against LMQ right here, because they have dominated LMQ. 15,000 gold lead, 28-minute win.
Beautiful job. Team SoloMid takes game 2. A very happy TSM indeed. The fans cheering behind them. LMQ not really getting what they wanted out of that game. The early game started perfectly fine, but TSM didn't allow them to get the kills they needed. They didn't allow the pressure of the wards to get under their skin. They just laid out just as many wards.
A few critical adjustments were made by TSM in between games right there. An answer to the Yasuo.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we see an Orianna again? That was punishing, and it's safe in the mid lane. He can get to that.
All right, thank you, Riv. I'm here with Crepo, who has made his way out to Seattle to check out the playoff experience. Now, Crepo, the crowd loves you. How have you been enjoying your PAX experience so far?
It's really fun to be at big conventions like Gamescom and like PAX because the crowd just goes absolutely bonkers whenever something happens. And it's really fun to be a spectator one time now because I'm not going to lose any games in the playoffs for once. But yeah, it's really fun to be here. Crowd's always good. A lot of nice people, meet a lot of fans, and watch some good games.
Oh yeah, speaking of those good games, I really have been enjoying this TSM LMQ matchup so far. One thing that stood out to me was side bush control has been really important in the duo lanes, where you spend a lot of time. What do you think about these supports? We've seen a new trend where some of them rush mobility boots and don't get the sight zone for a lot longer, so it's harder to control that vision in the side bushes.
I think it's good. I picked it up like a couple of weeks ago as well because the time it takes for me to run from base to bot lane, you can, if you buy Moby Boots, you can run to the enemy wolf camp, place a ward, and come back to bot lane in roughly the same time. And then you have really deep vision. The only thing you need to watch out for is like you have slightly fewer wards, but you can play around that. You don't have to face check that. I mean,
it's quality, not quantity.
Exactly.
All right, so for the rest of this series, it's now evened up 1-1. What are your predictions moving forward here? How do you think TSM and LMQ are shaping up?
I think LMQ always brings a lot of action, so I love watching them. But I really feel the switch from Kha'Zix on Amazing back to Lee Sin, another Sidestone jungler, really helps them with their vision control. Because Lost Boy, he puts like the first piece, and vision is like a chain reaction. So once somebody puts a few wards, that allows you to get more wards even deeper. And I really feel the double Sidestone is so fundamental to TSM's success, because if you ask any team they scrim, they constantly talk about how good their vision control is. But when Amazing plays Kha'Zix, he can't build Sidestone, and that kind of crumbles. And you saw this game, they made so many picks, they had such good control again. And on top of that, banning out the Zillion was really smart, I think, because it just allows Vasily to jump in and die twice instead of just once.
That's a good point. We have seen, especially with Dignitas also, having a jungler ward with you makes it so much safer, easier on the support. You don't have to die going for those dangerous wards. All right, well, thank you very much, Crepo, for your input. Now we're going to send it back over to the guys at the analyst desk.
Thanks, Kobe. A very decisive game there by TSM. So a bit of a turnaround from the first game. Something I want to look at immediately, though, is the number of contested picks we have in Champion Select. We're seeing Ryze being a huge priority. You know, now we have the Tristana between the two AD carries. So do we expect to see bans on those high priorities and force people onto, you know, more uncomfortable champions in the future games?
I think that if they're going to be banned, they're going to be red side banned, but you don't want to sacrifice any of the bans that you're currently throwing out here if you're TSM or LMQ. Ryze has been first pick both times. It was actually kind of to dissuade the Yasuo, I think, when LMQ picked it up, saying that we'll get Yasuo ourselves if you guys don't pick it, but if you pick it, we have a counter pick in team fights. And then you saw there, Dyrus, he did get 1v1'd by Xiao later on that Ryze, but the fact that he had that Ryze in team fights really just shut him down. There was a Baron fight, there was that last fight of the game where the Rune Prison just really makes Yasuo a non-factor.
And probably we saw another early 4-minute gank by No Name top lane this time, picking up another early kill for LMQ. So it seemed like the game was going to follow the same trends as the first. However, just explain to me exactly what TSM did this time in order to slow them down and keep themselves in the game without getting any kills. They were down 3-0 at one point.
I think the big difference between this game and the last one, or 2 games ago, was they got the first blood top lane, and that actually doesn't really give you much dragon pressure. When they killed bot lane had a pure advantage. They were able to shove bot lane, and then they can rotate to dragon. And in this case, they were able to get a kill on Ryze, and then Dyrus actually was able to stay in lane long enough to get a TP advantage, and then just walk straight down to dragon. And at that point, LMQ just had to give it up. And that kind of not even offset the first blood, but gave them an advantage over the first blood.
Now, at the beginning of the game, Reginald sent out a tweet saying that the pep talk he gave to his team, and we actually showed the tweet in the middle of the match, but the pep talk he gave was, "Hey guys, this is no longer a best of 5 playoff series; it's a scrim." Is that the kind of mindset that TSM needs to be in? Especially you, probably you've played them in scrims. How differently do they play when they're on stage versus when they're in a scrim?
I think it's pretty similar to all teams. Everyone has kind of the luxury to play more aggressive, more of the style they want to, because they're not playing for the team necessarily in a scrim. They're kind of wanting to improve the team and improve themselves. So yeah, TSM in scrims is similar to LMQ. They play way more aggressive. So yeah, if they want to treat it like a scrim, I'd say they definitely have a better chance of winning that way.
Let's take a look at some of their aggression as we saw Tristana jump in at about 23 minutes into the game. They get a pick in the mid lane. We're going to pull up this replay. Zyrene, go ahead and walk me through this because it's a pretty big change in terms of the flow of the game.
All right, well, we'll start rolling the clip out now. You can see that TSM, they're at the Dragon, but this is actually when they get the Shockwave pick on, and then this leads up to a Baron eventually. We do see the Tristana jumping in, and they have that reset there, but he just closes the distance. They get no name. The jungler's off the field. You lost your control around the Baron, and LMQ, they aren't even set up to counter this at all. They aren't set up to walk in there, so they go in this blind. They have to get a vision ward in there. They put the stealth ward up, and then Bjergsen, he pulls off as if he's out of position, and Xiao tries to section him off, and there's the Rise Rune Prison to shut down Yasuo's gap closer, to shut down his damage, and he completely gets zoned out of the fight and destroyed immediately. I love that Bjergsen feinted out of the pit to pull Xiao and his aggression towards him, because it baited him completely.
Yeah, very decisive calling here. This time on the side of TSM, netted them 2 more kills there than the 2 they had already gotten in the mid lane. So a pretty huge gold swing. Now from there, the game kind of exploded in terms of speed. TSM roamed around the map. We saw the usual kind of team play style, their aggression, and they matched LMQ's aggression. So now, in the first game, I had asked you guys what you do against LMQ's aggression. Probably you said match it with more aggression. That's exactly what they did. So what's the adjustment that LMQ makes now? As they've seen, TSM's not afraid to bring it to them.
Yeah, I think LMQ needs to make sure they're getting that Rise top lane, because Ackerman definitely seems a lot more comfortable on Rise than on Mundo. He can make more plays and kind of thing like that. I do think they're doing well with the Yasuo pick. I don't think they should change that really. And then bot lane, I'd say they just need to kind of pick for lane and kind of try to crush Blessed Boy and Wild Turtle.
I think they should go for the Tristana if it's open, because they first round rotation that Lucian, and I thought that Vasily on Tristana was just so convincing. Why would you give that up? He's undefeated on it currently in the NALCS. Why? Like, that's a big question for me, is why would you do that? He went to try and go beat the lane. He did by about 30 CS, but it's still Tristana. Tristana in the meta currently, in the way she is, she will get all of these resets. She will scale into the late game and just shred through a team. I don't know why he did that. And
this time, TSM had the tools to protect that Tristana. Yeah. Ori with the shields, Nami with the the healing and the disengage, as well as Rise with the Rune Prison. So there was a lot of safety there built in for the Tristana. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see if they can test that pick in the next game. I do want to jump into one more replay before we get out of this game. 26 minutes in, we see a nice 4-for-0 by TSM up in the red side jungle of LMQ. It's a pretty good example of their shot calling and the way that they can turn a fight. We're going to pull that up on your screen right now. Probably, I'm going to let you take this one.
So this fight actually looks really good for LMQ just because it's a 5v4 right now. Dyrus is still dead, so he doesn't have TP. So the fight initiates where they're trying to pick off more, and they end up hoping the Orianna ult would hit more. And at this point, it's a 4v4, and they don't have Ori ult. So LMQ is still feeling really good about this fight. They have Yasuo ult, so they start going back in. And TSM does a great job spacing and then immediately re-engaging when Ackerman gets too far out. And then boom, Blessed Boy gets his bubble because he doesn't miss that kind of thing. And then they just clean up the fight, and it's beautiful.
Now, it seemed like at that point in the game that it was unwinnable for LMQ, given the fact that they were against Tristana and Rise. And we did see TSM close it out pretty soon after that, but LMQ stayed very aggressive. Is that a misstep? Should they have tried to stall it out, or is it really just, you know what, we have to put up a last stand somewhere and see if we can take a fight?
If you're going to take a 5v4, I think that's where you do it. You take it at that point. And I think that the fact that LMQ never plays like they're behind, they're always contesting things. I think that the Baron was a little too over-aggressive from them when they went in, and they didn't have vision control of it. They didn't have a jungler. Xiao was just looking for Bjergsen. I think that was too aggressive of a play, and they shouldn't have done that. But that play right there, I think it could have worked out for them if they had positioned and actually had Yasuo ultimate up for that fight and had landed it. But Blessed Boy was right on top of it, and it also was on cooldown from the Dyrus gank bottom.
All right, well, here's hoping that both of these teams stay hungry and stay aggressive, because we've got more of this adrenaline-packed semifinal coming up with Game 3 between LMQ versus TSM. The NALCS continues right after this.